Kings Island recently announced that they're mothballing Coasterstock this year in favor of the 2024 American Coaster Enthusiast Spring Conference. The Kings Island team stated Coasterstock will return next year, and if that's true, we have ideas for enthusiast events the park should introduce this year to keep the spirit of Coasterstock alive. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Absolutely, Don. So, they announced that Coaster Stock was not going to happen this year. They're going to do the Ace Spring Conference. So, hundreds of people are disappointed, obviously, because it's just Ace. It's not Great Ohio Coaster Club and Coaster Crew and so on. Shout out to all of them. But let's share some ideas that you were kind of throwing around before your departure as far as enthusiast events and what maybe the park can do to keep the spirit of Coaster Stock alive.
Yeah, Ryan, I had thought, that there could be a couple of spinoffs of Coaster Stock to make it more of an opportunity. There's a lot of Coaster Stock attendees who every year, were able to get tickets, and then others, this year they got tickets, next year they didn't. But to kind of give more guests an opportunity to get tickets to a Coaster Stock type of an event at Kings
Hmm.
Island, I thought that the couple of things that they could do, and it would also come at a time where it would help enhance the parks, um, you know, events in the fall and in the winter. So you were able to get more people discussing and coming to Kings Island from outside the market during those times. And the camaraderie, always a big part of Coaster Stock. There would be an opportunity for, all of these like-minded people, that looked at Coaster Stock as that big family reunion, that they would be able to gather again in the fall, be able to gather again, during the winter season. And the first event that I had in mind, and I had started to put, things on paper and all that before I left, um, would be to do an event, and the placeholder name I had for it was Coaster Carnival,
Okay. I like that.
and you do it during haunt. Um, what this event would be, it wouldn't be an ERT type of an event because it's very difficult to get ERT during the Halloween
Yeah, at
season. The
midnight.
park opens at
Yeah.
11, closes at midnight. By the time everyone, even though it closed at midnight, that doesn't mean everyone's, exited the trains and everything. There's
Mhm.
still people in the queue. It's 1 or 2 in the morning before everybody gets out of there. Maintenance has to get the ride ready for the next day. So it wouldn't be an event, built around ERT. But what it would be is you would have all the mazes, the indoor mazes, so 5, 6, whatever that number, would be for the year. Lights on tours. You would have the entertainment team kind of walking everybody through there, talking about the backstory, before everybody went in. That was part of Coaster Stock, was a lights on tour of a Halloween haunt maze. A couple of times that was mixed into the itinerary, very popular with everybody. So you would want to do the lights on tours of the mazes, makeup demonstrations. You would have the theater, the Kings Island Theater, not necessarily in use every year during Halloween haunt. You would be able to go in there and do a makeup demonstration, or you take it out to the picnic grove and do it out there. But just how they, do the makeup for the monsters, and you could time it out to where you're actually making up the monsters, who are going to be going out to Halloween haunt. So it's not like you're just taking extra time to do it. You're doing it anyway. So you just put it that time of the day, 3:30, 4 o'clock, before Halloween haunt would begin those nights. Guest speakers. You'd have a catered meal and you'd have guest speakers. You have individuals from the entertainment team that, kind of come out and talk to everybody about what they're going to experience that night at Halloween Haunt. You would have somebody maybe from the park, if you announce a new attraction for the next year in August, an update on that new attraction. So you would be able to do that. It would include the Fright Lane. Everybody would get Fright Lane passes as part of their ticket deal. And I think that would be the event for that. So it would be Coaster Carnival, a smaller group. You wouldn't have the same number of tickets available that you would have for Coaster Stock in the summer, but uh, you still would get interest from outside of Cincinnati and Dayton. So by the time you get to the Halloween season, it's often the locals that are going. This is a way to get, individuals to come from Atlanta, from Tennessee, from Pittsburgh, from Chicago, from all those different areas, Detroit, so just kind of, bring some other people to the park, but also get them, talking about how great Halloween Haunt is, and just kind of help spread the word a little bit there. So that would be my idea for a fall event.
Okay.
And
Let's
then
let's break down the fall event
questions.
first, and then we'll go on to your second idea.
Sure.
So as a testament, I will say that in a previous Attractions Group podcast, we thoroughly discussed that I attended Halloween Horror Nights, and as part of my activities, I did what they call the RIP tours. So I
Mhm.
did a very deep tour of three of the houses, and by tour, it was like they kinda taught us the techie stuff, but the real spirit of the tour, which when I heard about this after I had purchased a ticket, and I was actually kinda disappointed because I was more interested in the techie side of it, but then after experiencing the tour, I'm really glad it was the way it was, but they take you through each room and they explain the entire story from, a universal creative perspective, and I will tell you that I did all the houses one night, then I had the tour, and then I did the houses again that same night, and I appreciated them so much more knowing the message that was trying to be conveyed. So I think that if you had them walk through and they get to see the story, but let's be honest, a bunch of grown men and women, they're not gonna be afraid by the houses. They're gonna be concerned with the storytelling elements and so on. So walking through the house isn't gonna ruin anything, with the lights on. But you come through and you have all the entertainment people telling the backstory, maybe telling some like what it took to make this maze, like what this room is trying to convey. When they get through it later that night with the fright lane, that's gonna be a really cool experience for them. So I could see the appeal for both locals and people out of town. So mixing that in, we're talking about a catered meal, speakers and stuff like that, fright lane. I mean, what would have been like that cost? Yeah, top of your head.
It'd be around the same range as what Coaster Stock
Okay.
was. There'd be a pass holder price, so maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to remember what it even was. Maybe 70 for a pass holder and $100 for a non-pass holder,
That's
because you're still
that's an
getting the
incredible
part.
deal
But it's a
because I
one.
think
It's a
fright
one.
lane
It's a.
costs less than
It's
that.
yeah, but it's a 1 day event, so instead of a 2 day like Coaster Stock, so maybe it wouldn't be as expensive as Coaster
Mhm.
Stock. But the great thing about Coaster Stock is that, yes, there was ERT, and yes, that was important. But the biggest piece of it was the camaraderie and being able to just spend time with their
Okay.
friends, meeting new friends and things like that. So that, um, component of Coaster Stock, the camaraderie piece of it, that works for this because, there's no ERT, but they're still going to get together, still going to have a great time with their friends. And Coaster Stock Carnival, you like that name?
I do. Coaster Stock Carnival or Coaster Stock Carnival Edition or something like that. That could be really fun. You could have
Yes,
fun
yes,
with
something
that.
play off that.
I really do like that. And again, like it's not ERT, so that's it might appeal to a different crowd, but I mean that in a very positive way. Because those who want to go to Coaster Stock, where coasters are the center of the show, and you talk about camaraderie and stuff, but people come for the coaster, stay for the friends, let's be honest here. But if you're gonna get those people that are really into the Halloween stuff, I mean, you're attracting a lot of overlap, but a lot of new people too that are far more interested in walking through the houses with the lights on and so on. Very, very cool. I like that
Exactly,
idea.
exactly.
What's your other idea?
My other idea is during Winterfest, that you do an event and you call this one a very merry Coaster Stock.
Okay. Yeah.
And this one would have some ERT involved before the park opens. You could do Flight of Fear after the park opens. It closes at 10 o'clock. You could still do an hour ERT on Mystic Timbers. It'd be very cold, but it'd still be those two ERT opportunities there. Um, you would get to do a tour behind the scenes. At that time of the year, they are, starting to work on the coaster cars, so they're pretty much dismantled at that
Mhm.
point in the process of being rebuilt. So you would be able to go through the wood coaster maintenance shop. You would be able to go through the other maintenance shop where you would see the steel coaster like Diamondback, cars, uh, the boats from the Flume, all those other different rides, kind of already in off-season maintenance mode, uh, you know, being either broken down or part of the rebuild already at that point in time. So you'd get to do those kind of things. Plus, as you're walking behind the scenes to get to those areas, you would see other rides not part of Winterfest, where the cars and that would be out. Always a great photo opportunity with that. You would be able to get kind of a reserved uh, area, VIP area for the parade, the Winterfest parade. So you'd have that VIP reserved area that's just for the attendees of this event. You would get reserved seating for Tinker's Toy Factory.
Oh, okay.
So you'd get to see that show as well. And, just again, that camaraderie, with everybody. It wouldn't necessarily include a catered meal because you'd have more people than that could fit up in the international restaurant for this, but it's a shorter event. Um, so I just think those things, it would work for that, that it's, you've got the rides the start today, the rides the end of the day. You've got the parade. You've got the Tinker's Toy Factory. You get to do the tours of the maintenance shops. So a little bit of winter chill out there. With that part
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. I mean, we were asked if
So
Kings
that
Island's
would be
gonna do a
my
winter chill out.
yeah. So that would be my winter event. Again, it would be a very merry coaster stock, and it's something that I did throw out to the group. And I said, if we were to expand this and do a fall and a winter event, would anybody here be interested? And everybody put their hand up. They'd all love to
Mhm.
do it. So I started to put that together. Wanted to try to do it this year, for this season, and never got a chance to fulfill that, obviously. But it was just something I was starting to work on and just putting, what they would entail and what the cost would be. Now, in terms of it's not for the park, it's not as expensive at all. Very little cost involved here other than someone's time to take them on the tours. So it's not, you're not spending the money, to have the ERT sessions. You're not bringing guests in, early like you do coaster stock that early in the morning. So I think, it's something that would work for the park. It would certainly work for the coaster enthusiasts from those different clubs. And it would be a way, to do it this year. It's a way to keep that coaster stock spirit
Mhm.
alive, keep everybody engaged with that event. So if they did bring that event back next year, you're still rolling with it in a lot of ways, even though, it was idle this year. But if you mothball it, you don't do anything else to keep that name in front of people. A lot of the coaster enthusiasts, they find other things to do. I mean, there's an event in Texas, 3 days, Six Flags
The
Fiesta
rodeo,
Texas.
is that what it is?
The
Yeah.
road, yeah, roller coaster rodeo. I know a lot of coaster stock members have told me that's where they're going this summer. We're not going to be able to come to Cincinnati this year to go to Kings Island for coaster stock, but we're going to go to the Texas event. Well, you might not ever get those people back. So that's the danger when you mothball something, is it's not a guarantee they're all going to come back the next year. So the magic, the chemistry, the camaraderie, that kind of something you have to almost start to rebuild again if that happens, where they do find other things to do. So this is a way to keep people engaged with the name Coaster Stock, keep them engaged with Kings Island. We're talking about guests from outside the market, who would not normally have gone to Halloween Haunt, or they would not have planned it, to come to Cincinnati and go to Kings Island for Winterfest. You're trying to attract that audience, which is what Coaster Stock did. Without Coaster Stock, a lot of those attendees would not have come to Kings Island those 8 seasons. So that's what you're trying to do with these two events.
Yeah, I like this idea as well. Now, mentally, I was trying to think of, if you wanted to do food, if you wanted to do catering, my thought was this. This might work out perfectly, and I feel like I'm booking the event for the current Kings Island crowd because I like this idea. So, what does a international restaurant hold? Like 150 or so?
A bit
Okay,
around that
so
number, yeah, 125,
let's
150.
work with 150 because it's a little bit easier. So, 150 people sell 450 tickets to the event. All right, that way have 2 hours for the tours, leading up until 4 o'clock. When the park opens. And then you have 3 different sessions because it would be buffets, and it would probably be the same buffet that's up there. So you'd have 150 people or so, they'd eat, and then they would rotate out, kind of like how there's, like, a couple different groups that do winter chill out. I think that
Hmm.
logistically, that would be a good way, and the cool part is
Yeah, that'd be
that would get food involved, and it would be a revenue generator and so on, because it would be kinda difficult, there is going to be an element of why is this event $50 if we're just getting tours of stuff that they're doing anyway. So if you include a meal and stuff like that, I think that could be a little bit more value add. And it's you got to think you're opening the restaurant and you're selling the same food to a crowd that's not going to be taking up the restaurant for the next 6 hours when the park's open. So that's how I would do it. But you probably have the same thought process. But there's plenty of activities that can be done leading up until.
Yeah. Or the other thing, Ryan, you can do too is, and they've done this with groups during Winterfest that are larger than what the fest house or than the international restaurant will hold, is you take them to the fest house and you do it in there and you do it before the park opens. So maybe your meal and your guest speakers or whatever are from like 3 to 4,
Yeah, I like that too.
and the fest house are 2:30 to 4. Then you start to go out in the park and then you go take them on their other tours, or you do your tours from noon to 2. Then you do your meal. Then you're out in the park experiencing the event. You get ready for, Tinker's Toy Factory. You get ready for the parade. I mean, it's a short night for Winterfest. When you're talking about 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So
Well, the cool
I
part
think that
is
could work. You
it's
get
very short if you're trying to get rides in, because if you wait 45 minutes for a ride, that's a huge percentage of your
Yeah.
night. But they have that luxury since they're doing the ERT and Flight of Fear, and so they don't really need to ride it during the event if they don't want to.
No, but I think that would be the venue to use though, is the Fest
I
House.
like that as
Would
well.
be because everybody can come in and you can do it earlier in the day. You can get people in there, starting at 1 o'clock, if you wanted to, and then just time it out to where like 3 o'clock the ERT starts on Flight of Fear,
Mm,
and then 4 o'clock the park's open. And then you could still do your tours after Flight of Fear because you're right back there toward where the wood coaster maintenance shop is
right.
anyway. So maybe you do it at that way. So, but it's just some ideas that I had, some things that I had actually thrown it out to the group. Would they be interested? Everybody, raised their hand for that for the most part. So I think it had some legs. And in not moving forward with Coasterstock, this year, you got to keep people engaged, with the event. You got to keep your people wanting to come to Kings Island. And this is a way to, keep that spirit of Coasterstock alive. That event meant a lot to so many people, so it's a way to just keep that going. And then if you do bring the event back in 2025, you're still rolling.
Absolutely. Cool. Excellent. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with that. That's both very good ideas. Let's move on to the listener question.
All right, Ryan, Henry asked, with Cedar Point's new app rolling out and including many features the old app doesn't include, how long do you think it will be until we see a Kings Island app refresh? Whether that would be just an update of the old app or maybe a brand new one.
Do you want me to answer this first?
I do.
I would say between now and April 20th, it'll certainly be out as a full new app, very similar to Cedar Points. They made it very clear that they're rolling out a new app to all of the parks. Um, but it'll certainly be ready for opening day. And I would say it's quite possible that it's out before this episode drops about a week from now. So you may already have it. The thing that's weird about it is it's a blessing in disguise because they can roll this thing out and they can test it on devices and stuff when absolutely nobody's using it except for people like you and me. Because we're going to toy around with it. Somebody that we know posted on Facebook of like, oh, they still have filler language and stuff. And it's like, well, Cedar Point's app, like they're not open and they're in the midpoint of them not being open. So they don't assume you're going to open the apps. They're being very lackadaisical about it. But I would expect it to have the same functionality as Cedar Point's app. I do have Cedar Point's new app, did not get to poke around with it too much. But from what I'm hearing, the main functionality is that you can buy the single use fast lanes. That is probably the sole
Mhm.
reason why they're rolling out these apps. It's a very good business decision. Will it improve the guest experience? We'll see. I mean, Genie Plus, come on. But that's expect to see it sooner than later. It would be a full rebuild, and it'll probably be nearly a clone of Cedar Points. Cool, Don. What are your thoughts on the app?
Well, I was still there when discussions were taking place about what this new app would look like and what it should include, and they were taking feedback from the parks, what the parks were hearing about the current apps, what guests liked, what they didn't like. It sounds like it's going to be really good. I'm going to download those apps after everybody, has the new one rolled out. And I just think it's time. I think the ones that they've had, the different versions of their app. I don't know. It's been what, two or three different ones that they've rolled out over
Yeah.
the past decade, but they've been functional, but they've never been, what you would think an app should be
Right.
for a major seasonal park like Kings Island, like Cedar Point, like Carowinds, like Knott's. You would expect a little bit more out of the app than what it was. It would just seem to be a little bit of an extension of the website. It was a lot easier to navigate the past couple years, but it's never been, what it could be. They never really tapped into the full potential of a mobile app.
I agree, and I took the opportunity to kinda pull up Cedar Point's app and just kinda scroll through it a little bit, and there is some stuff that catches me, right offhand. So, the first thing it does, it asks you to enable push notifications, which, is huge for them. Whether or not you enable them is entirely up to you, but personally, if the Kings Island app, I'm certainly doing it because I wanna know what's going on there. But looking through it, they've got a wallet section, and the wallet section actually has a tab for pass perks.
Hmm.
So, it's I'm looking at the wallet says your app wallet makes it easy to store passes, tickets, and payment information, and more. Um, so I'm guessing you can add a credit card to it, and then maybe buy your single use fast lanes. But I don't know with Apple Pay, and then their map looks very 3D. It's kind of funny because it's 3D about as good as I can make 3D and 3D software, as in it's a flat map, but all the things that are indicating the locations are in 3D, which is kind of trippy, actually, but not very functional. Um, the map I feel like could improve, but without being in the park, I don't know how functional it's going to be. Um, no park has nailed the app thing, and the worst thing you can do is just have a park map without even a "you are here" thing, and a lot of parks have that. The second worst thing you can do is have a park map or have an app that acts like it's giving you directions, but it doesn't like, refresh fast enough. I'm looking at you, Disney, MDX, where you start walking and you think you're going the right direction, and then it's like, "Oh, no, wait, you're going the wrong way," and you turn around, and then you pass, like, intersection, and by the time you pass it, it's like, "No, you were supposed to turn there." So it's doing that to conserve your phone's battery, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what navigation's like, where they landed with that. But the single-use fast lane is going to be a huge revenue driver for them, and that's what the app is leaning on. That would be my guess. Cool. Very, very cool question. Very cool. I'm excited for the app. I want to see what it looks like. All right. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.